Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from Crying to T Swift and says, am I the a-hole for kicking my boyfriend's girl best friend out of my Halloween party because of her costume? Hi everyone, I'll cut to the chase. I, 19 female, had a Halloween party over the weekend. I invited my boyfriend, 21 male, and a bunch of our friends over, including his girl best friend. I will call her Agatha. My boyfriend and I decided to dress up as Peter Pumpkin Eater. If you haven't seen the costume, the guy wears a shirt that says Peter, and the girl dresses as a pumpkin because, well, you know. I was pretty excited just because I thought it was funny and a cute costume. Agatha texted me the night before the party and asked what my costume was going to be. I explained the couple's costume my boyfriend and I would be wearing, and she replied that she would probably just come as a sexy cat. Fast forward to the night of the party. Everyone is having fun and it's a nice time. Well, it was, until Agatha walked in dressed as a pumpkin. She went over and hugged my boyfriend. I swear, the room went silent. I was peed. I asked if I could speak with her privately, and we went to my bedroom. I asked why she chose that costume, since she knew the details of the joint costume between my boyfriend and I. She said she didn't see the big deal and thought it would be a better group costume. I told her I didn't think it was funny and I would prefer that she change. I offered her a witch costume that she could borrow for the night. She turned red and started to yell that I don't get to control what she wears. I told her that she was disrespecting my relationship by insinuating that my boyfriend and her have sex. She kept screaming about how it was funny and I needed to lighten up. I ended up asking her to leave. She stormed out of the house and I returned to the party. The mood had shifted and the night felt ruined. My boyfriend agrees that she crossed the line and is planning on cutting her off completely. But a few of our friends are saying that I was being dramatic and I should have let her stay. I guess I'm just wondering, am I the a-hole? I've posted this on other forums, but I've seen this podcast on TikTok, and I feel like you will all be honest with me. That's the first time I've heard about Peter Pumpkin Eater in absolute years, and, you know, I'm ashamed to say I didn't know the actual meaning behind it, and I was Googling and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, regardless of that, not the a-hole to me in this situation. Simply, a friend wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to a friend. It's not about controlling what she wears, because she knew exactly what she was doing in this situation. And in the comments with Glad Condition says, not the a-hole, you weren't dramatic at all. It seems like she just wanted to ruin your couple's costume. You were doing the right thing on talking to her and she didn't hear you at all. So it was good taking her out of your house. It's nice your boyfriend supports you. OP says, I'm very grateful to have such a supportive boyfriend. A lot of people were calling him out on my other post for not standing up, but I think he was just in shock and didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Kilgrey replies to OP and says, that's the problem though. Not wanting to make anyone uncomfortable leaves you as the one uncomfortable. Obviously you handled it, but still, you shouldn't have to alone. Individual B says, not the a-hole. She overstepped by doing that. She clearly knew you'd be bothered and she may have more than friends' feelings for your boyfriend. I'm wondering if there was ever a sexual relationship between them at one point. Jealousy is an ugly monster. OP replies in, he said that nothing sexual has ever happened between them. I do trust him because he was honestly shocked she would pull something like that since she's always treated me with kindness. Dragons replies to OP and says, I think she decided she does have romantic feelings for your boyfriend and is intentionally trying to cause trouble in your relationship. She went out of her way to find out what your costume would be, lied about hers, came dressed as a pumpkin and made a beeline for your boyfriend to hug him. You have a great boyfriend there. Not all guys would be willing to cut out a girl best friend, especially without you pushing for it. You are not the a-hole. She is. Tommy Lita says, did you spell out to her that you're the pumpkin because he eats you? Maybe she legit didn't understand or get the costume. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here because sometimes things just don't click even with smart people. If what she did was passive aggressive, then I agree completely, but before you cut her off, why not talk to her or have your boyfriend talk to her? OP responded and says, that was something I was considering, but she definitely understood the joke because she even said something like, oh, you'll have fun after the party with that costume, with a winky face. while we were texting. I was thinking about having my boyfriend talk to her, but it's completely up to him. She is his friend and he can respond however he would like. I just found out that she's been texting him since the party asking why I freaked out, but never texting me. Opie continues to say he hasn't responded to her. He has completely ignored her since the night it happened and says she hasn't even tried to apologize, and that's what the boyfriend said. A couple more comments from OP and says, "We are currently texting about how to move forward. He wants to go completely and cut her off because of this. It was completely out of character, so I'm wondering, could it be a one-time thing? She's never shown interest before and she has normally been really kind. Sometimes people make mistakes, like me blowing up completely, but I'm letting him make the decision completely on his own. I'm not pushing him in one direction or the other. It really seems like he is done with the friendship and with whoever said I was wrong." Then someone asked why didn't the boyfriend say anything, and Opie responded saying, "I think he was just too stunned to speak when she walked in. After I asked her to leave, he comforted me the rest of the night and took my side completely. He said that he is going to be cutting her out of his life. It's crazy because she's been texting him and he said she hasn't even tried to apologize. He hasn't been responded, which I think is driving her crazy." So then OP updates the post and says, "Well, I have an update. I meant to post one a few months ago, but I really needed time to process the events that occurred after this whole ordeal. I'm glad I waited though, because you all need to hear this one. Many people pointed out that my boyfriend must be sleeping with Agatha since she went absolutely bonkers for seemingly no reason. I thought since he immediately took my side and blocked her on everything that you were wrong. Well, it was me who was wrong. It turned out that Agatha and my boyfriend had been sleeping together for months and they were just really good at hiding it, until she decided that she didn't want to be his mistress anymore. I found this out when I was at his house and hanging out in his room. He was showering after a workout and I heard this vibrating noise. He'd taken his phone and mine was right next to me, so I couldn't figure out what it was. I opened his bedside table drawer and found a second phone. My gut told me that something wasn't right. Why would he have a second phone? It didn't take me long to guess his password. 1234. Really? And my fears were confirmed. There was a missed call from Agatha. I looked through the messages and found out the truth. Not only had they been sleeping together, she recently found out that she was pregnant. This was the reason she pulled the stunt on Halloween. She was trying to force his hand. I also saw that he was messaging other girls as well. I was completely devastated. After his shower, he found me grabbing all of my belongings and putting them in my bag. He asked me why I was leaving and I told him because we were finished. I threw his phone on the bed and he looked like he was going to vomit. He started pleading with me to hear him out, but I didn't want to hear it. He could have all those other girls. I didn't want him anymore. He followed me out of the house shaking and crying. He even followed me all the way out to my car trying to block my path. I went over the grass around him and didn't look back. He sent me a long message about how he never wanted to hurt me. Then he wanted me back and how he was using his work phone to text all of these women so I wouldn't find out. That was really helpful. I sent his boss a nice little message about how company property was being misused, and I saw on LinkedIn he no longer works for that company anymore. He's blocked on everything now. I hope him and Agatha have a magical life with their baby. Oh, and I heard through the grapevine that he got one of the other women pregnant too. I'm glad I dodged that bullet. As for me, I'm currently in therapy working on my trust issues and learning how to love myself again. After this situation, I've been putting myself out there again and I've cut contact with anyone who knew what was happening behind my back. Thank you for all the love and support." There's a relevant comment someone said about an STD check, and Opie said thank you for the advice. I got an STD check after I found out about the cheating, but I will definitely schedule another one for this week. Yeah, he was a piece of work. I ignored many red flags because I was so happy to finally feel loved by someone. Well, that wasn't real love. I'm glad I found out this before I truly invested more time into the relationship. I'm looking forward to the future and finding someone special in my life. More information on the second phone. I honestly had no idea why he even decided to tell me that. He said he only did it because of his access to a second phone, so I just thought his boss would love to know how company property was being used. Then there were some people saying that, the post was potentially fake. There always is some posts like that. And Opie responds and says, "I would like to clarify a few things here, but I know you probably won't believe me, and that is fine. Agatha originally asked what my costume was going to be. I don't think anything of it because I always ask my friends what they are wearing to parties so I can get the vibe. Even though we weren't best friends, we were still on good terms at this point, so it was normal. I'm the one who told her we were wearing a couple's costume, and then we had a short conversation about the joke behind it. I didn't know what happened from there, only that she showed up as part of our couple's costume. Quite simple, my ex was an idiot. His phone password for his actual phone was 0000 because other combinations were too hard to remember. 1234 was not my first guess, but it worked. If it hadn't, I would have just confronted him regardless. I never said he got fired for misusing company property. I said that I emailed his boss about it and that the company was no longer in his LinkedIn tagline. I have to assume the company wasn't thrilled. He was sending D-pics/videos to women on his phone that was probably supposed to be used for work purposes. Who knows? He might have gotten fired because he's an a-hole, but I will never know. Hopefully this cleared some things up. If you still don't believe it, that is okay. I just thought I'd address a few things you said. And then people asking how you're doing now. Opie responds saying, I'm working on it. I guess I was just so happy to be loved that I didn't really see any of the red flags. My therapist has really helped me and I'm looking forward to the future now. I wish I had answers. I blocked him shortly after I left his home. Haven't seen him since. I don't know what happened between him, Agatha, and the other baby mama. The only reason I know about the other pregnant woman is because I heard it from someone else. Now, of course, after this story, I'm incredibly glad that Opie is moving on, that they noticed that they dodged some huge red flags. Obviously, they got some recovery to do because they said they're working with their therapist, which is a good thing for them. But whenever I read these cheating stories, especially when they're cheating with multiple partners and stuff like that, and I know it's not the point, but it always goes through my head. I think, who's got time for this, man? Living day-to-day life is exhausting. Who's got time for multiple partners? And again, I know that's not the point. I'm not trying to play down Opie's situation. That's a legit question. But once again, I'm glad Opie is out of that situation. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, for our second story today, we're covering an old story that we covered probably about 3-4 months ago, but it's got a new final update, it says on it. So if you want to skip the initial parts of the story, as always, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are down in the description, along the timeline below. Feel free to use them. That's what they're there for. And let's crack on. This is from Throw Off My Chest 234 and obviously started in the True Off My Chest subreddit, titled, My wife went out last night and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as hell. I know what I have to do. It's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I waited up. Around 2:30, I called to check in. She answered and I could hear people in the background. She told me they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered but no reply. Around 4 a.m. I called again. It rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress she didn't leave the house in, with mesh leggings I've never seen either. The leggings had clearly been torn and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been assaulted. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing, and that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she had walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was and she shrugged almost casually and said it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house and hooked up with him, then Ubered home. She then said she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep. So that's what she did. She's still asleep now and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me though. I think I need to stick to that for now. Opie then gives a mini update and says, alright, things have happened. I'm no longer at home. I left. I wasn't able to get the day off work today though, so I'm writing this on my lunch now. It's been a struggle keeping myself together today, honestly. I've had to sneak off to the bathroom twice to cry. Crap's rough, dude. I'll post something more detailed later on because holy effing crap, there's a lot. I'm exhausted. I've only slept about 4 hours total since this all happened. Does anyone know if I should post the actual update in a new thread or just update the one I already made? It's going to be a lot of text, probably longer than the first one by a bit. Also, to the woman who felt compelled to send me a topless picture, thanks but also no thanks. My heart just isn't in that sort of thing right now. So then OP gives the full update. Me again, folks. I'm sorry I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss kind of sucks. I was a complete mess at work yesterday though, so I was allowed to take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all the stages of grief while my soon-to-be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured I needed to try and talk to someone about it because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning and by noon she was still conked out in the bedroom. I'd processed things a bit more and had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions I wanted answers to, gathered up all my important documents, laptop, etc. Then I went into the bedroom and started packing myself a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly, I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation to be able to say that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially end me. It'll sting a little bit, I won't lie, but I'll make it. And I feel like being around this place is only going to remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She ended up waking up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was a momentary confusion as she looked around the room, then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her I had the screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that plus her confirmation was enough that things between us were completely done. She didn't answer me and just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to just pack the rest of my suitcase and head back out to the living room until she came out. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked me if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I was going to ask questions and I wanted honest answers. She told me she'd be honest, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking me everything to hold it together, but I kept going. I asked her, was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before she answered that, then told me no. She had cheated on me multiple times over the course of our relationship. It was, and I'm going to use her words exactly here, just sex, a way for me to let off steam. None of it ever meant anything. I wrote a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just more than last night. Had she used protection? No hesitation from her before she nodded her head emphatically. She seemed surprised I'd even asked that. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe. I did some research into timing and I'm going to look after it. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no. I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could get in contact with their spouses. She probably should have, because her refusal led me to messaging pretty much the romantic partner of every one of her girlfriends I could find on social media. There are a couple I don't know or couldn't find, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. I'm going to use her exact words again. I need to have sexual variety. I told her it's not like our sex life is dull. She clarified, it's not the same as something new. I didn't even have a response to that one. I just expected something about me working too much or not supporting her emotionally. Nope, she just effed other guys because she felt like it and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking me about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over. I'd be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. My ex actually tried to have sex with me. She put her hands on me and started trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit and pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me she would figure out a way to fix it, that we could work through it together. I told her that there was no way, and she started bawling again. She went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. I was just sick of everything at that point. I called her mother and told her what was going on. The full story too, the cheatings, the questions I had asked, and the fact I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with my ex's parents. They both decided to drive to town, which is about an hour for them. Once I knew someone was on the way, I just grabbed my things and left. Her waterworks in the bathroom were just annoying me because it felt hollow to me, especially given the answers to my questions. I ended up packing another bag before I left and took all the things that I could think of that I felt sentimental attachment to with me. I found a parking lot and sat in my car until I was able to get in contact with a buddy for a place to crash. I tried to take a nap, but I was running on way too much adrenaline. I knew when her parents had made it to the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer those, she started texting me. She'd gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently, I'm an effing piece of crap for telling her mum everything. Whoops, I'm not sorry. I've received roughly 100 texts from her since leaving. They range from name calling all the way to begging me to come back, to sending me pictures of the food she ate for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I cancelled all the subscriptions that go to my credit card just to be sure, and changed all my important passwords. I'm crashing on a friend's couch for the next bit, but I got some feelers out to some short-term rental places until I can find something more permanent. I got feelers out for a divorce attorney too. A co-worker of mine had a recommendation, so barring something better, I'll probably go with them. I also wanted to say that I was shocked how supportive everyone was, and thank you for that. Truly from the bottom of my heart. It isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable venting place for me. Thank you all so much. So then OP gives their final update and says, "Hey folks, I'm happy, I guess, to say this will be the final update to what has been probably the most difficult chapter of my life. I felt an immense amount of support from the community here from my initial 2 posts, so I wanted to give a short update. Bottom line, my ex and I both signed the final papers for our divorce this week. It feels kinda surreal to think about that still. About 2 weeks into everything, she got resistant. I cut her off entirely, and she refused to return my attorney's calls for a little while. Eventually things got back on track. As for the infidelity itself, I don't have a ton more details to share with you. We did a short mediation, and by that time, I didn't feel there was any remorse on her end. I've talked about that a lot with my therapist. I'm in therapy, by the way. It still hurts that someone who I thought loved me apparently cared about me so little, but I'm working through it. That's really all I've got to share. Thanks again, everybody, for your advice and support." And I'm glad to see at the final update there that there was no more drama, is that the right word, in OP's life, because they deserve to be moving forward now, and I'm glad to see that they're in therapy and slowly healing, I hope, and I really wish them all the best moving forward. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories and your love, your support, your time, not just towards me, but towards one another as well. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.